so tight, coming closer.
I mean, David. Shout out to Kiss Daniel, the god of our lips.
Yeah. So Love Damini is out.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I was hoping to see Portable on the cover of the album. Like the review.
And Burna Boy gave me a shout out on the album. Sungbengbe.
Oh my goodness.
What does that Sungbengbe mean? But I love it. I don't care what it means.
But I mean, you've listened to the album. What's your take on this album?
It's an album that's going to split opinions for a long time, and that's fine. Like Jay-Z said, like 10 years ago in the Breakfast Club, great art is polarizing. If everybody's agreeing with it or saying great things about it, it would also mean that it's good. But great art is very polarizing because everybody has their opinion and their perception of what it is and what it's not. That's the first thing. The second thing is, Wizkid might be the greatest artist of his generation, but Burna Boy and Olamide are like the hallmark when it comes to albums in that generation. Although Burna Boy started off his career with like 2 EPs and Life, and then he embarked on a very, very uncertain run in terms of bodies of work, the albums were simply not good because he was not in a good headspace at the time himself. By management-wise, conduct-wise, character-wise, he was not in a great place. And then Outside dropped and everything changed. Like, literally just transformed from there. Outside dropped African Giants, which is like, I think most people are going to argue that that's his magnus opus, except some people who are going to say it's twice as tall. But I think it's Outside. I think Outside is his classic. For now, right? So shout out to Burna Boy in terms of like that run. But that run also represented his golden run, right? I was talking to one of my OGs some years ago and he said, there's something like a golden run for an artist. It's a peerless, like not just artists, creatives, journalists, writers, everybody has a golden run where you are not second guessing whatever you're doing. And usually that golden run is usually powered by the idea that what you are doing in that moment, no, the golden run is powered by years of mastery, right? Like years of you just applying your talent, your skill, everything you've learned and improving and improving and improving. Then when you hit that echelon, that zenith, you are just churning things out because you have earned the confidence to do something in a certain way. Especially when acclaim is coming for it. When acclaim is coming for you like you have never gotten before, you just keep going and you are so confident that you can take any risk. Anything you touch is gold. But the problem is, every golden run comes to an end because one, fans can only enjoy something for so long. You understand? They evolve, but they don't want artists to evolve. It's a very funny thing. That's one. Number two, a golden era run for anybody that experiences is usually accompanied by success after, right? Success comes after a golden run. And it's very difficult to sustain. Getting success is easy. Sustaining success is the hardest thing. Do you understand? Like, when you are rich, when you have money, like the things that we are dreaming of, you are not living them, it's very difficult to stay inspired. That's just life. Like, bro, that is life. People think it's because you got busy. No, you didn't get busy. You just don't have the same hunger that you used to have. You have a new type of hunger now. That's why you can watch The Last Dance. And Michael Jordan will say, he's looking for inspiration in the weirdest places. He's inventing reasons to hate somebody. He literally invented the reason that a guy said something to him and the guy never said it just because he wanted to psych himself up. That's how it is when... So you have done one three-peat, you now want to do another three-peat. So you need something, you can't be the same fresh guy anymore. You need something to inspire you. So that's, in the case of like artists, that's why it's very hard. That's why you see Drake running out of ideas. CLB showed that Drake ran out of ideas. He needed to try something new. There was nothing new. He just revamped templates from Take Care, Views, and If You Are Ready, This Is Too Late. That's basically what CLB was. That's basically what it was. And maybe, no, Scorpion was on it. It was those three albums. So, bro, that was Burna Boy's golden run. And this album is a culmination of that golden run. Like, it's a product of that golden run, in the sense that the golden run gave Burna Boy a template to work on that was working, one. Two, the success and the things that Burna Boy is singing about on this album is inspired by that golden run, because the women that are talking about, the love that you had, everything was from that run as well. Because Burna Boy's life was kind of perfect. Like, he also got a baddie to himself. That's my guy. Number three, there's also the part where the album itself, right? It was, how do I put this? The strategy on the album was also inspired by that golden run, because Burna Boy is not just a Nigerian artist anymore. Like, they can literally see, you can see the places that he's touring. Netherlands, Sweden, Latin America, New Zealand, if I'm not wrong. Like, the strategy, it shows you that they are seeing his back end and seeing where the spikes are coming from. So that golden run and the success also inspired. So they're also looking at like touring numbers and streaming, not just streaming numbers, touring numbers as well. You want to go and tour in Latin America. You want, like, that's, all those strategies were birthed by the success he achieved during his golden run. So that's the thing about this album. Love Damini is a product of that golden run.
In your review, you talked about the golden run.
Yeah.
How does this apply to Burna Boy?
It applies to him because everybody can see it. Everybody can, you can feel, you can almost touch it. And you can feel that if you're a non-stan, stans are very simple, right? But you can, if you're a non-stan and you were judging this logically, it's very difficult to find a non-stan. There will be people that are going to say, man, this is the best album in the last 4 years. There will be like regular people like you and I, who are not Burna Boy stans, are going to think like that. But they are going to be the exception, not the rule. Most people that are going to find are going to say, not really. There's something off about this album. That's what do you think, right? Exactly, right? That's it. Because you are used to a standard. There's a standard that you're used to. And this one is just not there. It's not quite, like, twice, I think I gave African Giants a 9.4/10. It was incredible. And the reason why the album was not like 9.8 is because of the song with YG and Future and that record. But even those records there, you still can't say they're trash, because there's a way the album is constructed where those two records don't affect anything. Like, the track listing of African Giants is crazy. The sequence is mad. Those tracks were placed at the foot of the album. After you had enjoyed like 16 tracks. And then after them came Spiritual. So immediately you are forgetting about them again, that they're bad. It's so beautiful, right? But this album is not like that. I can see the strategy, I can see the thought behind it. It's not random, right? It's not random. It's not like it's all over the place, no. But it's just not there. So it shows you that, yeah, this guy is not. That run has finally come to an. And it's fine. It happens to everybody. You can't be a genius forever as an artist. It's not possible. Kanye West is possibly the most influential artist of this generation. Kanye has hit snacks. Kanye released Ye. I liked Ye. No, bro, come on. Come on, my G. That was not a great album. Jesus was very polarizing as well. Life of Pablo was very polarizing as well. Because I can say that I love those albums, but I can see the reasons why people are saying those albums were not great. You understand? It's fine. And then all of a sudden it came back with Donda. So that's what happens with artists. You go through a golden run. In my end, you might be lucky to have it again, but that means you have to go through another 10,000 hours where you're applying and trying to examine where you are as a person and then use it to create another body of work. That's what it is.
Do you think this album is biographical?
The opening track, Glory, there was a part where I think, this is my story, and I'm Miami. This is my, like, you can, it feels like a manifesto to a biography. But this album is not a biography. This album is a victory lap. It's a victory lap. It's kind of celebratory. Like, you can listen to the records on this album. Like, it's about, like, it's a product of that, again, the product of that golden run, thematically, like topically, the topics that it's applying on this album. For example, Science is about a woman. It's plenty. It's shouting at Joey Zaza. I'm not sure Burna Boy and Zlatan and Joey Zaza were in the same circles till it started popping, right? Like, you can, like, Burna Boy was not exactly speaking the language of the streets until he made Killing Them, and he became like a streets disciple. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's a product of that thing, right? You can also see records like the record with Khalid, right? You can see the thing that record was saying. It was looking back on his own journey with like sentiment and nostalgia, and it was kind of vain, but it was wild dreams. A journey, and there was an epilogue on the record that says a good journey starts with a wild dream. Like it's a victory lap. Like you can hear a record like Kilometer. It's very braggadocious. Kilometer. I don't want how many kilometers. It's bragging. It's basically it's been a while. It's taking me a while, but I'm here now. This album is like it's talking about Nyash, different size. Bro, and that was not the only time he referenced Nyash on the album. He referenced Nyash like different points of the album. And a record like Vanilla is the ultimate fuckboy anthem. Yes, now I see Vanilla, and I saw Jamila we get Big Nyash. And I said, bro, Vanilla, you're done. Let me follow Jamila. Bro, that's basically maybe a superstar. That's the concept. It's a victory lap. That's what this album is. That's it.
All right, so you also noted that the album is personal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's Burna Boy's most personal album. I really think so. I genuinely think so. Life, yes. Life was kind of personal, but so Burna Boy has a way of speaking from the first person. Like it's a ridiculous songwriter. I think we all know that. He's ridiculous with the pen, and I don't know what goes on in that guy's mind, but his mind is like the mind of a genius when it comes to penning. So he can be speaking from a first person, but he's talking about a third person. He's narrating a third person story. Does that make sense? Like, No Fit Vex, for example. I mean, no, not No Fit Vex. What man go do? Sometimes he was talking from the first person, but it was a third person story, right? On his album, Like to Party, he was talking about partying, but there were records on them. There were Yawa D, but a lot of these records were spoken from. It was talking like he was talking from his perspective, but it was a view of society or an abstract situation. It felt like those. Then let's look at his last 3 albums, Outside African Giant and what is it called? And Twice as Tall. There were personal instances of different stories. For example, on Twice as Tall, he had the level up where he was very honest, and he said he was throwing up after he lost the Grammy to Angelique Kidjo, right? There were instances like that. There was real life. There were like records, but significantly, a lot of that album were determined by the empirically charged perspectives, right? But on this album, Burna Boy is kind of vulnerable. Do you understand? Like, this is him. Opening track is This Is My Story, talking about his roots, his introduction into the gang life, all of that stuff. On It's Plenty, it's literally admitting that I'm not perfect. I can do 9 things, and the one thing that I do, people are going to say is not good. Like, that's personal. He's talking about heartbreak on Last. He's admitting love. He's talking about his love for Nyash. Bro, it's stark. This album is very stark. You can literally see everything that Burna Boy is saying in different places. So it's not like there's a random thing that he's not talking about. And then you can also see perspectives like For My Hand. You can see a perspective like Cloak and Dagger, where he's telling you that although I can admit that, I want to be loved, I want to be understood, but you guys, if you not mess up, I'll go Cloak and Dagger on you niggas. Like, that is it. That's it. It's a very personal body of work. I don't know why people are not saying that. Like, again, that also points to the fact that it's a part of like the victory lap. Like, he has looked outside, literally outside. He's become an African jazz. He's gone Twice as Tall, right? But now, okay, next thing he's looking inward. It's a good idea to look inward now, right? And maybe that's why it's loved, because it's personal. Because topics on the album are very personal. But the execution is not just A1. That's it.
Okay. What do you think is the strategy with the music on this album?
It's, number one, like I said, in the opening part of this episode. It's inspired by the success, right? So that means he has to be very strategic, number one, because he's not a streaming artist that can potentially make numbers. That's why Yoruba will say, oh, word here. That's why Tony Braxton was, what is ED for rights, bro? for royalties, right? That's it. Because Tony Braxton knows that this nigga is going to make him some hell of a lot of money. That's it, right? And he's also a touring artist right now, which is making a hell of a lot of money on touring. Like, he's not doing theater shows, he's doing arena shows mostly these days. 19,000, 16,000, 17,000. That's a lot of human beings, right? So he has to find, and let's be honest, it's a tough job. You remember the episode where we talked about like Nigerian artists not knowing what works and trying to do everything? It's a tough job right now because it's also time to a major, and those guys are going to be hounding him for music that they can make money off, right? So it's not easy to balance all those things together. So I understand in a way because it's tough. So the strategy on this album, for example, is when he made Twice as Tall, right? He wanted to win a Grammy. So he just, remember, alienated the home front. He alienated Nigeria, kind of. The singles were not heavily marketed here. The singles were not for us particularly. They were for a particular purpose, which was to win a Grammy and get outside. I mean, it helped him, yes. He won a Grammy, became a Grammy baby. Everybody finally respected his artistry based on, like, most people can't make a decision like that and actually follow through with it. It's like it was a I think that's the most important moment in Burna Boy's career, to be honest. It was the ultimate test of his artistry, and he came out flying. He came out in flying colors. But in this particular, going back to this particular session, it turned him into a touring artist. Like, his fan base increased. People outside the country gravitated towards him, Caribbean, Latin markets, all these places. Now it's about cementing the fan bases in those places. So you are looking, and he also wanted to retain the home front on this album and still win a Grammy, right? So you are looking at It's Plenty, Different Size, Science, Vanilla. Those are basically Lamba records. On It's Plenty, it's literally speaking Lamba. Literally, It's Plenty. The Sumbengbe on that, you can literally hear the ad-libs. It's there. Right? Different Size is basically a record that the beat was a record that was blowing up on TikTok last year. And now he was on his album. Right? You can see a record like Science. And then you are seeing records like Wild Dreams, the record with Blast, and Kelani, and Cloak and Dagger. Urban audiences. Khalid is young urban audiences, and maybe young white people in a way. Kelani and Blast are American urban audiences. J-Hus is European urban audiences. Popcorn is Caribbean audiences. J Balvin is Latin pop. Ed Sheeran is white European and white American audiences. It's basically there. You can literally see what they're trying to achieve. And then with the Grammy thing, this time the Grammy perspective is not on the nose. It's not. You have to look. It's in the details of the scenes of the tapestry of this album. Like, you're looking at him featuring Lady Split Black Mambazo, serial Grammy winners. Ed Sheeran, serial Grammy winner. Khalid, Grammy winner. You're looking at the topics he's addressing. A record like Whiskey, a record like Common Person, which follows the same perspective as No Fit Vex and Wetin Man Go Do. Like, talking about the struggle of the average Nigerian, right? It's basically there. It's the final track, the final 41 seconds of Cloak and Dagger, the instrumentation. You can literally hear it. The detail, the instrumentation, the sonics, in a way, are particular places on the album to elevate the experience. It's basically all those things are geared towards the Grammy. So getting all these things together is tough. So it's a tough ask. But again, if you're Burna Boy, the standard is still that you have to trump it. You are the guy that wanted to win a Grammy. You went and made an album to win a Grammy, and you actually won the Grammy. So the standard I will judge you by, we can't judge everybody by it. That's just life. That's it.
What do you think are the downsides of this album?
First things first, it feels like the first thing I noticed on this album is I don't understand why they didn't put a rapper on Glory. That record was screaming for a rapper. Like, it was basically crying. Give me a rapper. Give me a rapper. Rick Ross or Drake. I'm sure that can be a tough thing for Burna Boy at this point. Like that sounds like a record that Rick Ross could have made on his trifecta. Teflon Don, God Forgives I Don't, and what's this other album? And I can't remember the title of this, the first album. Deeper Than Rap, Teflon Don, like a record produced by Justice League or Lee Major. It sounds like a record like that. So a vain track where Rick Ross is just going off, talking about Roberto Cavalli's and Dan Court. Bro, it would have sat perfectly on that album. Perfectly. But maybe they were also thinking about Grammys that, oh no, if you go put Rick Ross, you don't want to offend our Grammy. This is very possible, right? I'm sure they are smart enough to have thought about it. That's one. And then you're looking at a record like It's Plenty Science, Different Size and More. There's something missing on those records, like maybe production or delivery. There's something. The most flawless records, the least flawed records on this album, Wild Dreams, For My Hand, Cloak and Dagger, and Common Person. Those are but out of all those records, only Common Person is the one that, there was a way people like me listen to music, and you can literally, something is missing. Production-wise or delivery-wise. There's something that they could have added or removed. Do you understand? From all those records. So that's number one. The other thing that I would like to point to about this album is Jagele and Dirty Secrets should never have made the cut of this album, bro. Come on, bro. Those records are fillers. And the sad thing about this album is, the experience is not as rewarding as say an African Giant, where you can forget those two records, Future YG, and those two records that everybody knows that they are not great records. So you can't overlook them, right? And on this album, there are more skips than on his previous albums, on his two previous albums. Do you understand? So there's an obvious error somewhere. So, and then we're also looking at, people are going to say Burna Boy is running out of ideas. There are similarities between Twice As Tall, African Giant. The approach to African Giant, Twice As Tall, and this album. Yeah, you can literally hear it. Like the opening track, for example, Twice As Tall and this album. You soon do Black Mamazo. If you remove Lady Smith from Glory and put them on Level Up, and you take You Soon Do and put them on, and you're basically going to get the same results. Right? And then the transition from Level Up to Alarm Clock, and then Glory to Science. The smoothness of the transition is there. And then the final track, track 3 on Twice As Tall is Way Too Big. Track 3 on this album is Cloak and Dagger. Go and listen to the way both tracks ended. Ta-da! Instrumentation. It's not a coincidence that they are both track 3 on the album. It's not a coincidence. And then the pop tracks that followed both records. Bro, and then the way both albums ended. Choir version, there's an alternative feel to how both albums ended. Even the final 4 tracks, if you listen to final 4 tracks on Twice As Tall, final 4 tracks on this album, you are literally going to hear there's a similarity in the approach and the structure with the arrangement and everything, right? So that's another thing. And then there are parallels, like I said, between No Fit Vex, Wetin Man Go Do, and Common Person. There are parallels. People are going to say he's running out of ideas. That's fine. People are going to say it's also desperate, like name-checking people, like he name-checked a lot of people on this album, a lot of people. Like he was approaching Nigerian audiences. Meanwhile, I forgot to mention a very, very salient point when I was talking about him not ignoring the home front. Every time he featured somebody on this album, he was not going into their world, commending. He was making them come into his own. Ed Sheeran was singing in Pidgin, right? Sheeran was singing in Pidgin. It's literally there. You can also see the facts where, even when J Horse rapped in Hausa, Yinki Yanka, I did point that out, I didn't notice. Right? You're looking at other times, if like a J Balvin that was singing rapping in Spanish, Burna Boy was still singing in his own language, not like any other person. You can literally hear it. So those things are commendable. And people are now going to say, oh, he's being desperate by speaking Lamba on his plenty ad-libs and trying to a TikTok record to put on his album. Maybe it's desperate. It's fine to be desperate. How is that a problem? Like, it's fine. It's fine to run out of ideas. That's just being a human being. It's fine. right? So it's because it's not very easy to keep doing unique things. It's very hard. So by Burna Boy standards, this album is not great. It's not excellent by standard. Maybe not great as well. It's not excellent by standards. And that's fine because if you are still not creating an excellent album, you can create a 7/10 album. That's good. And we will fall from 9/10 and they fall to 4. 7/10 that's still A, right? I think that's still A. It's maybe not A plus, but still maybe a B. A B is fine. If you get a B, that's 2-1. You are good. Right? So it's not exactly, you might not have graduated with distinction, maybe like a 9, but still something. Be good with it. So, but the problem is, because Burna Boy reached a level on African Giants as far as so store, we are not going to judge him by standards that are lower because that's just human nature. People are going to say, don't compare me to my last album. Well, we might not compare you by your last album, but we can judge you by your last album because that's just how human beings are wired. Even you are judging yourself by your last release. That's why there are similarities between this album and Twice as Well. Do you understand? Like you are adhering to the standards that made it succeed. So what are we saying here? If you are like that, you don't want audiences to be like that. How? So, but if another person had made this album, might have said, "Oh my God, this is so great." Not because we hate Burna Boy, but because maybe those people have not hit the level of African Giants or Twice as Well. So if this album had come after African Giants, the reactions might have been different. We might have given it like 8.5/10, 8.3, possibly. But because we have seen some things before, your mind is going to be wired to do something different. So I think people are going to judge it harshly, but it's a good album. And it will be fine. It will generate hits. If it markets the records on the home front, it's going to have hits here. And I really hope he gets that Billboard hits because he's definitely gearing up for it on this album. I really hope he does. Maybe like cracks the top 20, top 10. That would be very fantastic with the record with Ed Sheeran. It definitely sounds like a record that could work if they market it properly. Another thing that really sticks out on this album for me is the fact that the arrangement wasn't great. There was a way, after the opening 4 tracks, this first half of the album sort of dragged. Did you feel that? Yeah. Sort of dragged a bit where you are skipping certain records. It sort of dragged. Then from the second half was really where the album really took off. So if the arrangement had been better, right, you might have had a different album. If you wasn't trying to adhere to the standards of Twice as Well, the experience might have been better. So sometimes the sequence of an album it matters to how an album works. It was the same thing that I said about Fireboy's Apollo, right? Fireboy's Apollo is a good album. Personally, I think it's my favorite. I'm not speaking facts right now because my preference. I think I prefer it to Laughter Tears and Goosebumps. But the opening sequence of the album really took off after track 6. Are you listening? And a lot of the tracks in the opening sequence were records that were singles that the reception was quite lukewarm. So from track 6 to the end, the album is banging. But by the time, people had already made their minds up because human beings have short attention spans. Maybe not short attention spans, but they understand what they want. They don't know what they want, but they know what they like when they hear it. Do you understand? So the opening sequence wasn't great because they needed something that was going to... By the time the album really starts, a lot of people had already made up their mind. That's the problem about that album. So with this album, it's the same thing, right? People had been skipping records. So when they get to some other records, they will need time to be able to understand that, oh my God, this is actually a good record. That was just the mindset of dismissing some records before it is probably why I'm going to dismiss this, which is going to be. So I think, for example, Wild Dream should have come in the opening 5 records of the album. I think it should have been the top 5 records. And I think a record like maybe Common Person should have come earlier because then you would have mixed it up. Maybe our perception of Jagile might not have been as damning as it is right now. So I really think those are my thoughts on the album. That's factually.